Trigger alert. I'm going to warn you before we go way deep into this Fast Like a Girl by Mindy Pelz. No matter how many ways I try to soften up this review, I just can't. Welcome everyone. Welcome to my very humble channel. Now let's get into this. I, earlier today, did two videos reviewing two different doctors. And I just could not stop myself from being frustrated and sarcastic. I decided to trash those reviews and do it again with a more objective mind. Let's review Dr. Mindy Pelz fasting theology. Let's get into it.
Menopause fasting gets so much easier. The challenge is that oftentimes you've accumulated symptoms along your 40s through the perimenopausal journey that haven't gone away. So you still have hot flashes, you're still struggling to lose weight. You know, when estrogen declines, you become more insulin resistant.
Okay, so I'm going to say the same thing I said earlier, but a little bit with more gentle hands. First of all, I am postmenopause now. There is no insulin resistance. Unfortunately, a lot of these very charming, very charismatic doctors do not know what they're talking about with these concepts of fixing your menstrual cycle or your hot flashes and then fast more. Also, the concept of when you fast, you literally you beat insulin resistance because you're in your 50s and that's just what happens. You become insulin resistant when you hit 52 or 50s. Now that's absurd. 100 years ago, our grandparents we didn't have grandparents 100 years ago, but grandparents at that time, people who were older, they didn't take HRTs. They didn't take all of these pharmacological interventions. They didn't have the heart disease and the cancer and the talk about MTHFR or the gene variances. They didn't have the type of disease that we would now. They did have the beginnings of it because of candy, lots of wheat, processed flour, genetically modified plants being introduced, selectively bred and cross-pollinated plants getting into our, excuse me, Theo. This is Theo. They didn't have the problems that we have today. And when people start dealing with histamine, gut inflammation, fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis, there are so many different, you can tick box them all the way down to low libido, weight gain, fat gain, insulin resistance, poor sleep, all of these things, chronic fatigue, creep into today's reality. And then we have these miracle doctors. You go online, you find them on YouTube, and there's a whole bunch of them. And they will push whatever they think is the world's solution to poverty. They'll push whatever solution and often speak in broad strokes. Now, unfortunately, people don't seem to recognize the broad stroke talking points where they don't actually give you any details, or they don't tell you, well, I've gotten 0 education about nutrition in my medical education, and someone like me comes around, and I work with thousands of people over the years, and just one person after the other are not finding the solutions to the promises that these doctors push up in your face. Like, just eat sardines. You got a pimple, eat a sardine. The disgusting large amounts of meat that people are consuming on carnivore diet, and then you've got these doctors pushing that, and never do they have anything explanatory in the context of the different populations. They don't bring it up. They just say it's amazing. It'll fix you. Oh, you're going through menopause? It'll fix you. You have a pimple? It'll fix you. Let's check out some more of what Mindy says.
Okay, postmenopausal women. Okay, women who don't have a cycle. I've heard you. I know you guys want to know how to fast. So this video is for you. I'm so excited to share this information with you. So if you are new to my channel, welcome. I'm a woman on a mission to get 1 million people fasting. This is our fastest way out of poor health. We are not going to overturn the damage that corporations like Big Food are having on our health.
So the concept is that she wants to get 1 million people fasting and fix disease. But if you're eating a proper, healthy diet and have a proper, healthy lifestyle, why would you need to fast? This is a question and answer, a question that I do not get the answers. No, they'll just tell you that if you fast, it's just going to fix you. No one talks about gluconeogenesis, these fasting obsession, making money machine type of doctors. Nobody talks about, well, what if I have hypoglycemia? What if I have dysglycemia? What if my blood sugar is just not stable? What if I have a thyroid problem and every time I fast, my thyroid tanks? See, because food gives you the vitamins and minerals that you need for the thyroid. So when you don't eat food that has vitamins and minerals in it for the thyroid can tank. Plus, food is energy. It's not entertainment. It's energy. And it's tools to fix the car. And that's it. It's only when we've just grown up on these garbage processed foods where fasting would only play a role if you're having an allergic reaction, a food poisoning. But just electively not eating because you think it's going to fix hot flashes or insulin resistance.
Health, but we can take control back by learning to fast. So we're going to get 1 million people. It's 2022. We're going to get 1 million people to do this. So welcome. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. And as always, those of you that share this video out, leave comments. I so appreciate you. Together, we can make this world a better place. I know we can. Let's go through 3 different scenarios where I see women without cycles trying to figure out how to fast for her hormones, or what I would call fast for her cycle, or what I
fast for hormones or cycles. Where is the logics behind if your menstrual cycle is out the door, if you're a 35-year-old woman, right? It says 35 to 50, and you don't have a cycle, and you think that the solution maybe isn't pregnenolone steal or toxicity or not getting enough fat into your diet. You think that fasting and just not eating in these large windows is the solution, even though that is illogical, because you need substrates to make cholesterol to then make your reproductive hormones. Make it make sense.
I'm now calling Fasting Like a Girl. There is a whole book that's coming out on these.
And that's the thing. She's doing this because she's got this book. And I'm telling you right now, if I did a video, because I think this is in 2022 and she's 52 at that juncture. And yeah, so she's a few years younger than I am. And I mean, the last video I did, I was just raking her because I just became so annoyed on these garbage concepts, these rules that she's come up with that are illogical.
Topics. For this video, let's chunk it down into 3 different categories. So let's start with the first one. Those of you that are under 35 and you've lost your cycle, maybe you've lost it because of birth control, maybe because of PCOS, maybe you don't know why you've lost your cycle.
Okay, let's go over that. Birth control pills. You lost your cycle because of birth control pills. She doesn't explain anything. Okay, so maybe you should not take the birth control pills. Maybe you should focus on lowering your cortisol so you don't go through pregnenolone steal. And then the nutrition be on not only the type of food and the amount, but the timing of it.
Here is my recommendation for you. So the first is I want you to fast like you have one. So go back and watch the video that I did on what's the best length fast for a woman. I just did it, so it should be, my team will put.
I get so many people asking me to review what she's saying, and I've avoided it. It is almost nonstop people nagging me to review whatever she's saying, but as you can hear her, she's making up things. There is no, if you've lost your cycle, you got to figure out why you've lost your cycle before you start just electively not eating. Because perhaps that'll make you lose your cycle even more. PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. A lot of these women have dysglycemia. So if you're dysglycemic and you're experiencing hypoglycemic low blood sugar symptoms, high to low, and you don't eat in these large windows, and it gets worse. See, because of course, just like a person who's gone into veganism, you cut out all the junk and you start eating just whole plant-based vegan diet, you're going to feel better in the beginning. And then you're going to get slapped. But what's going on when you do not eat food for 16, 18, 24 hours? And not only the large windows, but the timing of those windows. Because when you sleep, you're fasting. Then when you get up, you continue the fast. But why would you do that? What is happening metabolically when you continue to not eat as your day continues, yet you're doing a bunch of things? Your body's going to have to go into gluconeogenesis and down the cortisol pathway to stabilize your blood sugar, because you haven't eaten any gasoline. You haven't put any gasoline in the car, essentially.
Put a link in there. It should be a recent video. And you will see that I take you through a 30-day cycle that you can time your fast to the hormones that are coming in and out. So even though you don't have a cycle, what I want you to do is fast as if you do. So that might look like
fast as if you have a cycle. Okay, this is a made-up ideology. This is made-up science. Day 1 to 10 day fasting length. You can do she says you can do any type of fasting. Day 11 to 15 fasting length. Ovulation time, 15 hours of fasting. What is the ideology behind this? Day 16 to 19 fasting length. You can do any type of fasting again, which if I was desperate to lose weight or to bring my cycle back, I would be very confused. And then day 20 of your 3-week cycle, then you don't fast. And why would you stop fasting? I guess I have to go more into her videos.
From for 10 days, you may go into some longer fasts. Maybe you do some autophagy fasting. Maybe you throw in a 24-hour fast.
Autophagy fasting. Yet people cannot measure autophagy. So this thrown around world of sort of a cellular cleanup. Yet people who are fasting look like they've been drugged or dragged. They look like they've aged 10 years because the body always needs energy. It always will go through gluconeogenesis. In fact, your body thinks, the body does not understand that we live in the modern times. When you don't eat, the body's like, oh, there's famine coming. But yet the person doesn't ever rest. Our hunter-gatherers rested. We don't rest. And that's a big difference when it comes down to your hormones.
Fast. So you can vary the length of your fast within the first 10 days. Then after that, you're going to take 5 days, day 11 through day 15, and body's trying to make a little bit of progesterone. What's going to happen is you're going to tank your progesterone even more, making your perimenopausal symptoms crazy. Now, I will tell you, I actually wrote a whole about 40, progesterone starts to go down. Now, progesterone is very susceptible to cortisol. So if you go into a longer fast when your body's trying to make a little bit of progesterone, what's going to happen is you're going to tank your progesterone even more, making your perimenopausal symptoms crazy.
Yes.
Now, I will tell you.
And here's the irony is that she's literally saying that fasting can literally tank your progesterone, which is so true. She's not also talking about that when your sex hormones are declining as you age, it's the amount of stress that your body's going through, which is going to be indicative with how they tank, because your adrenals are going to take over and growth hormone at night is going to take over once your ovaries burn out. And so how you transition your body as you get older is the key. That's what's happened to myself. Okay. So a lot of you guys know I am 56. I am full natural. You guys know that I'm 56 and in a hop, skip, and a jump, I'm going to be 57. The last thing that I want to do at this juncture of my life is to fast, because what's going to end up happening is that my body's going to have to break down proteins in my body, skin, collagen, bone marrow, to stabilize blood sugar. That's what gluconeogenesis is. When you're constantly in a state of gluconeogenesis, because you're going down the cortisol pathway, because your glycogen storages are depleted. So the glycogen is storages in your muscle. And when your muscles are depleted, your body has to get, oh, there's my donkey. Your body has to get energy from somewhere. It's not going to just pluck it out of the air and start burning fat, or else everybody would be shredded with muscles who fasted, which she clearly is not. And nobody natural I've seen keeping muscular size while just being super lean, because they've fasted these crazy windows plus keep their cycle. It's an illogical fallacy. Yeah. And in fact, I have clients do the opposite, which is eat small meals throughout the day, because then you don't overwhelm the digestive tract and you're able to stabilize your blood sugar, especially on a ketogenic high fat protocol. Even if it's a carnivore that's ketogenic high fat protocol. Now you don't have to worry about your sex hormones tanking because of pregnenolone steal, because you haven't been eating these large windows, but you yet won't sit down. And that's the point. If you were to fast, you would have to rest. So you might as well just do that while you sleep.
Tell you, I actually wrote a whole book. I think it's around here somewhere. I wrote a whole book for this age group. It's called The Menopause Reset. It works for this age group too, 50. We'll talk about that in a moment. But if you want to know how to navigate these years, go get the Menopause Reset. It's actually out in hardcover now. So go check that out because all of my little hacks for this age range is in there. The other part of this age range that I want you to remember is think about knowing your symptoms. I did this through my 40s so much, is if I had anxiety, if I couldn't sleep, if all of a sudden I started spotting, I shut my fast down. I went into 13 hours or less, and I started eating more.
Okay, she just said if she was spotting or having any issues, she would shut her fasting down. We call that a clue, but yet she'll contradict herself in one video.
Carbs. I talk about it in the book. So get the Menopause Reset. So you're going to need to get to know your symptoms. I even at 52 the other day, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so hungry. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. Why am I so hungry? I don't feel like fasting. So I started eating breakfast.
She's making this stuff up, and I have nothing against this woman whatsoever. But if you're super hungry, that's a clue. If you're super hungry, your body's already starting to break itself down to stabilize its blood sugar. The body does not care about your wanting to look aesthetic. It just is trying to survive and create balance within a stressful environment. She's telling you that if your body's going through stress, shut down the fasting. If you're hungry, shut down the fasting. Yes, because you're going to tank your progesterone and your testosterone.
Breakfast. Next day, same thing. Why am I so hungry? So I kept eating, and then sure enough, boom, my cycle started. So those are the symptoms you're going to want to check into. And again, I map them all out in the Menopause Reset. But this is the hardest period because your body's winding down. Your cycle, your ovaries are like, I'm out. Like I did a really good job for so many years.
35 to 50, if your cycle is on its way out at 35, something is incredibly wrong. And she's not talking about that with those pronated shoulders. She's not talking about that. I mean, that's absurd. Women should be able to be fertile if we were living outside in the nature. If there was no disease, no infection, no cuts, no shelter was fine. Into your 50s. Even 100 years ago or 120 years ago, women were still having children up into their 50s. At 35, something is wrong. That's why I feel like this is made up. You have to address the problem at 35 while you're infertile and not fast. Like, are you exposed to too many xenoestrogens? Do you have do you have mold in your home? Like, is your immune system overactive? Not fasting. That is not the solution.
I'm moving into retirement now. So your hormones and your cycle are hard to track, which is why an app works and why getting to know your symptoms work.
I have no problem with an app to track your cycle, but her purposes of fasting, it's absurd.
Okay, my postmenopausal women.
Oh my God.
I hear you. I watch your comments. So here are two really clear ideas for you. The first, once you're on the other side of menopause, fasting gets so much easier. The challenge is that oftentimes...
Why would it be easy at any juncture? Why would 50 plus make a difference? Because if you have metabolic derangement and you're more inflexible in your 50s, how would this be easier? Because what I've noticed, you guys, is that people literally start aging rapidly in their 50s from fasting.
Times you've accumulated symptoms along your 40s through the perimenopausal journey that haven't gone away. So you still have hot flashes. You're still struggling to lose weight. You know,
why are people having hot flashes when they didn't have hot flashes before? Maybe getting out the xenoestrogens out of your diet. Maybe strengthening the gut wall, maybe strengthening your adrenal, the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal response to stress, life stresses, inflammation. That needs to be discussed, not this concept of fasting where your body is put under more stress because glycogen's depleted, right? A lot of these people are doing keto and carnivore, and then you're not eating you get up and you continue not to eat, you're not producing ketones, you're not getting your electrolyte minerals in, because this is what happens with so many people who fast. Their electrolytes tank and they're chronically dehydrated. And again, we see people age rapidly fasting. I've seen it over and over and over again through all the people I've worked with over the years. And not one person has done well fasting.
Estrogen declines, you become more insulin resistant. So
okay, you're not going to become insulin resistant because you're post 50 and you're postmenopausal. This is one of the biggest misnomers and absurdities. The reason why people become insulin resistant is because of blood sugar dysregulation from fasting, from the wrong foods, from processed foods, from pharmacological interventions or taking medications that spike their blood sugar, poor sleep, stress again.
If there's of these three categories, no offense to the other categories, but of the three categories, this is the one that needs fasting the most, and it's actually the easiest.
Why?
So you can do a week.
No. Explain why. You must constantly reiterate why. Don't say to do it and how to do your weekly variations.
One day a week, you don't fast. If you know your menopausal symptoms are still around, do a 4-2-1. 4 days a week, you go 15 hours. 2 days a week, you decide that you don't fast. So it's a little flipped. You don't fast. You bring it underneath 13 hours, and 1 day a week, you elongate your fast. So again, a lot of this is in the menopause.
She's just making up stuff. And it's bizarre. And she doesn't look like incredibly like aged backwards. Make it make sense.
Reset. We also teach this in my academy. So there's a lot of nuance there, but you may need to go to a weekly variation. The other thing you could do as a postmenopausal woman is you could do what
you may need to go through a weekly variation, but why? A 30-day reset of what? Explain how these large windows of not eating is going to reset your hormones. How? Explain.
What I call a 30-day reset. And I got it coming in my new book called Fast Like a Girl. But
just the book, this whole video is based around her trying to sell her book. And I'm not hating on her for wanting to sell a book. It's just the type of book she's trying to sell. And you guys, you're the ones that will have to suffer from this. Yeah.
What I want you to understand is, for right now, is that you could go back. I did a video on what the proper length fast is for women. Go back and watch that video. And I take you through the different sections of a woman's cycle. You can go back and just start to mimic what it would be like if you had a period, kind of like the under 35 does. So maybe you, for 10 days.
I'm done, because the reality is, if you are under 35 or if you're 40, why in the frack, okay, if you are 38 years of age and somebody's telling you you're in a menopausal, premenopausal age, done. Stop right there. Don't listen any further. I've got nothing against this woman whatsoever. In fact, the only reason why I'm reviewing her is because I have ignored dozens upon dozens of requests for me to review her videos, or they'll pass her videos on and say like, yeah, but you can fast as long as like you fast like a girl. She's got a fasting thing for women who are with their period. No one should be fasting. We are not hunter-gatherers. We have incredibly stressful lives. We don't connect to nature. We don't connect to a circadian rhythm. Are we in ketosis? Are you driven by carbs? Is your glycogen storages? What are your mineral intakes? Do you have enough vitamins and minerals for, let's say, the thyroid? What about the thyroid? Yeah, it's a hard pass. It's a hard pass. Again, I've got nothing against this woman. She's very charismatic. But that's my take on her idealism and theories on fasting. I just feel like it's a big money-making scam. That's just what I feel. I just feel like it's a scam. That's what I feel. Somebody pointed out some app where you breathe. I got to review that. Another scam. Your breath is going to indicate what food you should be eating, or if you're in fat burning modes. It's the same thing with these beta hydroxybutyrate salts. People will promise you the sun and the moon and the stars, and there's a reason why dietary trends keep flipping over time, because they're not working. If you guys want to learn more, go to stephanieperson.com. Yeah, I do consultations, and here we can address your inflammation or your weight gain. Instead of fasting, let's find a regimen that'll work for you as the individual without going into gluconeogenesis and down the cortisol pathway. Because most people, if not every person I've seen doing this fasting regimen, have aged exponentially. Kind of defeats the whole point. You can find me on Instagram at Stephanie Ketogenic. My Facebook fan page is Stephanie the Business Person. And I'm working on the challenge, so the signups are not ready yet, but in January they will be ready. And I'm out. Yeah. Kind of felt weird reviewing her videos. I think it's better that you can't unsee. I've tried to do this twice, and there's no way that I can review a person without being critical to what I really believe and stand up for what I really think. And I don't want to hurt anybody. People have reviewed my videos, which it doesn't bother me whatsoever. But to me, these things are scams, and they're normalized because they all do them. So why would you feel guilty as a doctor who never had any nutritional education to give out these just absurd concepts of fasting or high protein carnivore, whatever? You don't have any guilt because everybody does it. Except for me. No, I don't play that. I'd rather be less popular and ensure that the people that I influence, that I don't hurt them and that I actually help them. And I'm out. Peace.